you're in I would consider a very rare echelon of people. You've reached the pinnacle of academia. You have a PhD from UCLA, multiple degrees as well as from Stanford. You've got 29 honorary doctorates, 30 medals from all sorts of places around the world. And you're also an engineer, that you've developed something that was extraordinarily, well, it's one of the few inventions that has revolutionized pretty much every industry in the world. And you're also Google's Chief Internet Evangelist. You're an academic, you're an inventor, an engineer, and you're an evangelist. I'm not sure I can name anybody else that fits all three of those categories.
Oh, I suspect that you would find a bunch of them. Let me suggest you have a look at the Marcone Society webpage.
Okay.
Now, I confess I'm chairman of the board of the Marcone Society, so I'm biased, but if you look at the webpage, you will see quite a range of people who fall into those categories. They are inventors, they are entrepreneurs, they are humanitarians, and they have been recognized since 1974, this cohort. So I'm not unique in that regard.
Was there an advantage? Did you come about the communication skills naturally, or did you hone them over time? How did you get to the point where you can speak on behalf of one of the largest companies in the world with a mission to bring the rest of the world onto the internet?
Well, let's tease this apart a little bit. First of all, you should recognize that success in getting the internet off the ground had several components, one of which was technical, and certainly the work that Bob Kahn and I did in the earliest days, in the early 70s, plus my graduate students, and a whole bunch of other people, is what made the internet possible. The technical capability was powerfully developed. But the reason that so many people had their fingers in that pie was because I felt like I could sell them on doing what I needed to do. And so I think the important part of internet success has to do with selling your ideas and getting other people to want to do what you want to do. And that's what the essence of salesmanship is. It's convincing somebody that they want what you have, or you want to do what they want you to do, or they want to do what you want them to do. So we were pretty good at that, and I learned early on that I couldn't just be an engineer. I had to sell ideas. So when I talk to my engineers, I tell them that the first thing they have to learn is how to sell their ideas to other people so they can get help, because otherwise you won't do anything very big. Now, as an engineer, and I feel, even though my title is officially is a computer scientist, I feel like I'm an engineer because engineers solve problems. They love problems. Just give me a problem, that I can, gnaw on. So if the problem requires more people than you, then that's the next step is salesmanship. So I tell all my engineers, you got to learn how to sell your ideas. And that is part of what's I would attribute the success of the internet to that capacity. So that means that I've been selling for a very long time. Now, what does evangelism mean? Well, evangelism means convincing people that they should adopt the ideology that you have. And when people ask, what kind of an evangelist are you? I tell them I'm geek orthodox. and that's basically correct. And when you think about my role here at Google, when I joined the company, which is now 14 years ago, they asked me, Larry and Eric and Sergey, what title did I want? And I said Archduke, because I've always wanted that. I thought that was such a great title. And they went away and came back and said, that's probably doesn't fit in our HR scheme. And then besides, they pointed out that the previous Archduke was Ferdinand, and he was assassinated in 1914, and it started World War I. They said, maybe that's a bad title to have. Why don't you be our Chief Internet Evangelist? And I thought, okay, well, I can do that because I've been doing that for the last 30 years. So part of my job is getting more internet built all around the world because that's good for Google. And I'd like to say it's good for everybody to the degree that content on the internet is useful and facilitates people's advancement. So that's what I spent a lot of my time on, is policy that needs to be adopted in order to encourage investment in infrastructure that will support internet, or adoption of competitive policies that will encourage more entrepreneurship, yes. And so I spent a lot of my time with government officials around the world trying to persuade them that they should adopt policies that have open internet, lots of opportunity for multiple entrepreneurs to offer their products and services, expenditure, even government expenditure on underlying infrastructure or subsidies or something to get the ball rolling. And so that's what I spent a lot of my time on, in addition to worrying about the technologies that Google adopts in order to offer its products and services.